Hi, what's going on guys? It's Almond. Welcome back to another Wizard101 video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the best life build that you can currently have right now in Wizard101. Now, there's going to be a lot of things that we can discuss because I know people can be like, can I have more resist? Can I have more things? I'll give you guys my opinions and thoughts on all that because it really just comes down to personal preference. So I'll talk about my preference as like playing all my life when I'm like questing or just farming stuff. But it's very niche when I do use my life, but we'll talk about that and give you guys my opinions and thoughts. So if you guys haven't, definitely leave a like, subscribe, all that type of stuff, and let's get into the content, shall we? So this is my life. I haven't been on my life in a minute, I'm not gonna lie guys, but I did like make the setup and I just called it a day, right? So if we quickly swap over here to my life setup, here we have my Stitch. Overall stats, I have 14k HP, 213 damage, a pretty decent resist, good accuracy, good overall stats overall, and then I have 48 pierce. Like, I feel like that's like the main two stats I want to cover, which is damage and pierce. We got 48 pierce over here and 213 damage over here. Now, depending on like the setup that you guys use, you guys can have more damage, you guys can have more pierce. You can lower both stats and have more resist. That's an option too. There's different avenues that you can take with this. Now, personally, I always try to aim for 50 pierce, around there. It doesn't have to be exactly 50. It can be like 48 or something like that. I'm not gonna complain about missing 2 extra pierce or anything. Just like anything around that 50 mark is what I try to aim for. And then the rest I just give it to all damage. So there's that. But yeah, overall pretty good stats, and of course you do have 104 pips and everything like that when it comes to the rest of the stats. But let's get into the rest of the pieces, actually, like specific ones that you can use. Now the hat, I do use Reaver. Specifically for life, what I would recommend though for the sockets is have some outgoing jewels. Due to the fact that life has so many healing spells. Now other schools, I know people like in the other videos at least I'm going to be uploading, I'm going to be majority of the time saying like, yo, just use whatever sockets, it's up to you. But I'd say on life specifically, I would at least on your shield pin socket on some outgoing healing. It's nice to have, it's just quality of life. If you don't care about the extra outgoing healing and you know that you're not going to be healing depending on the fight, of course, just put on some resistor of like a specific school that you want, and that's it for the sockets. At least you don't have to have the other sockets, like the damage ones, ignore that. If I say in the video like, yo, do you specifically need to run these, I will, but honestly the rest of the sockets, like the sword sockets, don't worry too much about. Run whatever you want, but at least for the life one specifically, I'd say for like your shield pin outgoing, if you don't really want to use outgoing, then just use whatever for the resist. But I specifically have outgoing for my life character. But main piece is you want to be using Dream Reaver Hood. Definitely go farm that, of course, if you haven't at this point, because Malice has been out for like such a long time now. I feel like people have Reaver gear by now, but if you haven't, definitely get yourself some Reaver gear, of course. But yeah, Reaver Hood. And then for the robe, I use Demonic Robe. Now, if you don't have Demonic Robe and you haven't done the Polaris raid at all, you can just use Nullity Robe. The world's not going to end. You can just use Nullity Robe. And if you don't want to do raids at all, honestly, you can go use, I think specifically for life, you can actually use the Reaver Robe because like it doesn't ruin your pip cost. Because if you look right here, the difference is realistically is just I gain more damage and I do lose like what, 1 pierce, but in return I do get more damage with this setup. But even though I lose 1 pip, I can still realistically have perfect pips on life. With certain schools you can still have perfect pips if you just have full Reaver gear. It's not really an issue because if we drop 1 pip, I'll be at 103. So if you want to, if you don't want to use raid gear, just use the Reaver Robe. Nothing's gonna happen, right? It's just you just get slight stat increases to certain stats. So it's kind of just really up to personal preference. But there's no harm if you want to use Reaver Robe, at least on life. Other option is you can go farm the Library Gauntlet if you want to go farm the robe from there. The Library Robes are overall just really good to have. I definitely recommend that you go farm it if you don't want to use raid gear. If you're not, you know, you don't have the team and stuff like that to get yourself some raid gear. literally just go farm the gauntlet. And if you don't want to farm the gauntlet, like I said, just use Dream Reaver robe. It's not the end of the world. You'll still have really decent stats. It's just at the end of the day, max level is kind of just like you choose what you want, personal preference wise. Some people even put on crit on their jewels and stuff like that. I'm not gonna question it. You can literally run whatever you want, but you'll see what I mean by what pieces I use and what sockets I use. But for the other sockets like this stuff, don't worry about it. For the power pin, I personally use balance pins or fire pins, depending on what I'm doing. People can even use death if they want to. Realistically, all it is if I get hit with a mantle in any fight, I have that extra like accuracy just in case of me like powering through. Can't put power pins for your certain like your own school because that would be kind of busted. But you can put on death if you are carrying feints. I don't think I have, yeah, I don't have fate trained right now because I reset my points a while back. But you can put on death, you can put on balance, or you can put on fire. The reason why I have fire is just so whenever I swap over to my Scald Incendiate builds, I don't have to worry too much. I can literally just switch my hat, switch like a couple pieces of gear, and that's it. I don't have to like worry too much about switching more than that. So that's why I like to switch between those specific schools for power pins. But like the rest of like the damage sockets, it doesn't matter. Well, we'll talk about dual schooling stuff or like you know, training into another school, all that type of stuff whenever the whole like update comes out. But I don't want to venture too far into this because I always get questions in DMs like, do I need those pins? Do I need those? Like, no. Like it's not, if you're not using balance spells, you don't need these pins. So don't worry too much about them. And then, of course, we go to our boots. We do have Reaver. Really good. You should be farming Malice by this point and have like all the pieces of gear by now because it's been out for such a long time now. So definitely have yourself a pair of Reaver boots. Wand, I use Shabalba wand. Now, if we quickly compare to, I believe, if we go over here to Bingo, and you can see why I use Shabalba wand. If we go to Life School, wherever it is, right here. So if you look at the difference, is that it has the same damage and everything like that, but for certain schools, specifically at least, you do get an extra pierce of damage. Now with life, sadly, you don't. So that's the only issue with this, but I do like the star blade that you get from here versus the spells that you get from here. So that's the real reason I use it. And then on top of that, if I do want the extra shad rating to use shad spells and stuff like that, I do like that. But other than that, there's really not much of a difference. Like, you do lose pip conserve, so if you really care about pip conserve and stuff like that, like, sure, use Reaver. But I do like the shad rating on here, and I do like the star blade that you get from here. So specifically, I still use this on all my good characters. I am using Shabalba wand, which you see in all the other guides. Shabalba wand is just so good. So definitely just go get it. And honestly, if you can't do raids, like the Azteca raid and stuff like that, because that's where you get it from. You get it from the Hun Hao boss, or the raid boss, I mean. Now, you can literally open packs. Would I recommend opening packs at this point right now? No. Just because with test runs around the corner, who knows if there's any gear that's like better. So don't open packs right now, at least. But if you don't want to do raids and you don't want to open packs, just use the Reaver wand. You guys saw it's literally not that big of a difference. It's just an item card and shad rating. Not too much to worry about regarding that, but I personally use Shabalba, like I said. Now, if we go to our theme, we do use Reaver, and I do have some fishing luck on here, but honestly, ignore that. I believe I was testing some stuff earlier, but you would just switch this to health, and it, like, honestly, should just do that right now, just so I don't forget. It's honestly good that I caught it. I do have some health here. There you go. There you go. Now that's what you're supposed to have. I had fishing luck on there because I think I was doing like a raid at one point a while back, so that's probably why. But you can put on health. Honestly though, if you don't want to do health because your health is already so high, you can, what I would recommend at least, is go to Bingo and get yourself some tier jewels. There's so many variety of spells that you can put on your tier jewels, but best ones in my opinion is the feint jewel that you get from here, and it's balanced, so it does stack like your death feints. So like the regular feints that you get from like Dorgan and stuff like that, those stack with this, so it's very nice to have. You can put on like a spirit blade if you want to, or like a blade for your own school, but the best bet in my opinion out of all of them is putting on potent trap and sharpened blade. So if you want to put this on your tier jewels for any of your like your Thane ring, wand, you can even put it on this wand if you wanted to. Put on a potent trap and one sharpened blade. I wouldn't put like multiple. I don't think there's a reason beyond that. I think at least just one potent trap and one sharpened blade is always good to just have, because dragoon boots are kind of just like useless now. You don't need to go do dragoon farming and all that, because you can literally just sock it on a sharpened blade and a potent trap. So there's that. So that's like another option if you don't want to have health, and you shouldn't be farming the health jewels just because of how bad they are to farm. Just go to the vendor over here. You can, I think it's this one right here. Yeah, go to this vendor right here and you can just buy yourself some 145 jewels and just call it a day if you want to use health. But I'd say the best bet is just using the sharpened blade and potent trap tier jewels. That's what I would recommend. So yeah, get yourself a Reaver, a Thane, and an amulet. I use Hun Hao. There's other options that you guys can use. If we quickly go over here, I'm always just going to refer to Bingo just because it's more accessible for people, at least nowadays. But if we look at the Reaver one, you can see it's a very slight difference. I do get 2 extra resist from here. I do lose a little bit of block, but I do gain 2 extra resist with the Hun Hao setup. So I personally use this, and you want to have damage on it and accuracy as well to hit the accuracy cap, which you'll see. But yeah, use Hun Hao. You can get this from the Florimancer pack if you don't want to like do the Hun Hao raid or like the Azteca raid. I mean, you can just open the Florimancer pack and you can get yourself a Hun Hao amulet. But if it's not Halloween, or if it's not like any type of Halloween packs active at the moment, then you can't get it. So then you just have to actually farm the raid. Another option is you can use the Shabalba amulet, which you can get that from the raid as well. It's just the cards are going to be slight different, stats are going to be slight different. It's just personal preference at that point. You can use Hun Hao amulet, you can use Shabalba amulet, you can use a Reaver amulet. You can even use the library gauntlet amulet if you want to as well. It's just very subtle differences, but just overall I feel like I love the Hun Hao one a bit more. So definitely I would recommend that. And then the ring, use Dream Reaver ring, and you want to sock it on some damage and health jewels, of course, as well. To your socket, like I said, put on a potent trap, put on a sharpened blade. Just have at least 1 copy of those on one of each on one of your pieces of gear. That's what I would recommend at least. It's just better to have for like just any type of combat that you're doing. It's just so nice to have. But yeah, there's the ring, and then the pet. I use triple damage, double pierce. If we go to the pet talents, you can see that I specifically have Giver, Pain Giver, Mighty, Breaker, Piercer, and Bringer. For life, it's not called Dealer, it's just called Bringer, so that's like a thing. So, reason why I use this pet is just so I can get more damage and Pierce, of course, because this gets me to around 50 Pierce. Now, if I didn't have Pierce on the pet, or if we don't want Pierce on the pet, put on Proof and Defy and just sacrifice one of your damage jewels for extra Pierce to make up the Pierce that you're missing. Because like I said, around 50 Pierce is a good mark. Now, if I lost that 6% Pierce, I would be at 42, which I feel like is a little bit too far. So at that point, I would, if you're going to do that, I would sacrifice a damage jewel and put on 6% Pierce. And honestly, if you don't want these damage jewels at all, you can give yourself more Pierce if you want to. But I feel like then you just have so little damage. I feel like around this setup is kind of what I like, and it's just what I've always preferred since I've been playing the game. So yeah, triple damage, double pierce, and I have it on a Fossil Avenger pet for the set bonus. Whenever I go to like the fire builds and storm builds, you don't need the set bonus anymore. Luckily with like how the game's been going, but I feel like it's just nice to have the set bonus. And what the set bonus does, it gives you an extra 5 damage. If you're fire, you do get extra, of course, you get the +3 and the +5, but with the setup you do get +5 damage. Now if you don't have this mount and you don't want to open packs, because I know a lot of people don't want to at this point, I wouldn't recommend it either. Essentially is just use a pierce mount and like the Clockwork Courser or like any other mount that gives pierce. And if you don't have any of that, you can use any mount that gives damage realistically, like a universal damage. I know like some of the Halloween ones give you like 1%. There's even like one of the mounts that give 2 universal damage. You can use like anything around that. Or if you don't have any stat mounts, honestly, it's not the world's not ending. You can use like your favorite mount, whatever. that's just an option as well. But then whenever you do that, and if you're not going to be using the set bonus, like I said, like the Fossil Avenger set, you can put this pet on any pet body. So if you want to use like a pet that gives you a blade, that gives you a trap, a sharpened blade, there's so many different pets that have access to that. There's like, I mean, honestly, that you can just go on the wiki and just search up item card, and you can just look for the pet that you want. You'll find so many, literally so many at this point. Any pet that gives a blade would be like your best bet, or any pet that gives a sharpened blade, or even a feint. You can put on a feint on there too. That's a really good option as well. So anything along those lines. But these are the stats I kind of aim for. And like I said, if you don't want the 6 pierce, what I would just do is put on proof and defy, so you get an extra 15 resist. That would be super nice to have. And then you can switch one of your circle sockets from damage to pierce. But just keep in mind, you do lose 9 damage. So if you don't mind losing 9 damage for extra resist, that is completely fine. It's just really up to personal preference, but I feel like resist isn't mattering too much to me right now. So I'd rather just try to aim for like 50% and a good amount of damage for that reasoning. So that's why we use these set bonuses for the time being, at least till set bonuses eventually get power cracked, but who knows when that will happen. So just that. And then the deck, I use the Shabalba deck. I just renamed it for purposes just like organization, but Shabalba deck is what I would recommend. It gives that Starblade, of course, and I think the other ones give you a Starblade too, so it's not too big of a difference, but it does give a little bit more health. And we just, for comparison's sake, we can go to Bingo, we can go to his decks, and then we can go to, I believe, Bull decks. You can see the only main difference is you lose a little bit of HP with the Reaver, but you do gain more block. Now, do you really need to farm this for the extra 54 HP like the Shabalba deck? Not really. So don't make it like it's show over if you don't have this. But if you really want the Shabalba deck, you can go farm the raid. If not, open the not the floor mats, open the fairy pack. The fairy pack will have a Shabalba deck equivalent, just with a different item card depending. I haven't really checked it, but the stat wise they're exactly the same. But if you don't want to do any of that, just use Reaver. It's not the end of the world. I know some people might complain about like, oh, everything's from raids, but realistically not. It's just very niche things that you farm for raids for like certain types of content. So there's that. But that's basically the setup. I enjoy the setup. This is just personally what I would use. If you have any questions, honestly, message me in Discord or ask me, join the Discord down below, and you guys can ping me, ask any questions. Can I use this? Can I use that? I'll do my best to respond to you guys. I'm better at responding in Discord than I am on YouTube. I try my best to respond to YouTube comments, but I'll do my best, honestly, to get better at that. But this is just a setup I use. At the end of the day, rock whatever you guys want to rock. You don't have to copy and mirror my setups for all my classes. This is just something I do, and this is just something I like, right? So if you guys really want that type of thing where it's like, oh, Almond, I like your setup, I'm gonna copy it stat by stat, go for it. You're more than welcome to. That's the whole point of the video, right? Because now how endgame is looking like is just stat preferences that people have. So like if you don't mind losing damage, you want extra resist and extra health, you can do that, or you can prioritize different stats. That's kind of the end game like a lot of people are looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to, because it makes different types of content for like all the schools and different people. So there's that. But yeah, like I said, any questions, message me in the Discord, join the Discord down below as well, join the server, and you're more than welcome to ping me, ask any questions. If not, put in the comments down below. But that is it from me. Leave a like, subscribe, all type of stuff, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.